Namaste. Welcome back, everybody, to our Soundarya Lahari session. Today, we will go through a very, very special verse, which is verse 11, which talk about the divine geometry, Devi Swarupam as in Sri Chakra or Sri Yantra. So that is our topic. But before that, let's do a quick meditation. Let's all sit tall, head, neck, and trunk in a straight line. Let's bring our attention to the middle of our heart, paying attention to breathing and the sensation of breathing. As we inhale, feel that chest rising up. As we exhale, it's falling. With each inhalation, the body, especially the chest, is expanding. And with each exhalation, it's falling down. Enjoy that sensation of breathing, leaving everything behind, just focusing on that sensation alone. And now let's take 3 deep breaths. Inhale deep. Exhale and relax completely. Inhale deep. Exhale, relax. One more deep inhalation. And exhale. Keeping the eyes closed, we will do a quick meditation on Devi Swarupa, using the Sindhurarana Vigraham Dhyana Sloka. Bring that Devi Vigraham in our mind. Sindhuraruna Vigraham Trinayanam. We are meditating on that Divine Mother who is red in color, who has 3 eyes. Manikya Maulispurat Tara Nayaka Shekharam. She's wearing a beautiful crown which has rubies in it. She's also adorned with moon, crescent moon. Smita Mukhi, she's smiling. Apina Vakshoruha, she has Kshira Sagaram in her chest, nourishing her children. Panipyam Alipurna Ratna Chashakam. In her one hand, she's holding a vessel that is filled with amritam or nectar. Ektotpalam Bhipratim. On the other hand, she has a red lotus flower. Saumyam Ratna Khadasta Charanam. She's resting on a pedestal that is also made with jewels. Dhyayet Param Ambikam. I am saluting to that Devi. Keep that Vigraham in your mind. Now we will do a Manasa Puja. This is offering everything I believe that I am unto Devi and merging all the tattvams back to her, so we may realize that we are that pure consciousness or Shuddha Chaitanyam or Ishvara. First of all, I am offering Jalam, which is representing Jala Tattvam. I am offering Gandham, sandal paste, which is representing Prithvi Tattvam. I am offering Pushpam flower to Devi, representing Akasha Tattvam. I am offering Dhupam, incense to Devi, representing Vayu Tattvam in me. I am offering Deepam, lamp, light, representing Agni Tattvam in me. Finally, I am offering Naivedyam, food, representing my prana. Once I offer all these, what is left in me is that pure consciousness, Ishvara. And I am that. Tat Tvam Asi. Keeping that Devi, beautiful Devi, in our mind for One more moment. Sada Shiva Samarambham Shankaracharya Madhyamam Asmadacharya Paryandam Vande Guru Paramparam Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakotis Samaprabha Nirvikhnam Kurume Deva Sarvakareshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada. Om Shri Matre Namah. Welcome back, everybody, to our Soundarya Lahari session. Today, once again, this is a very, very special sloka number 11, where Shankaracharya is talking about Sri Yantram or Sri Chakra, which is the abode of Devi. In Sloka 8, we saw that Sudha Sindhur Madhye Surabhitapivadi Parivrate, we saw that slokam, where we were told that Sudha Sindhu is where she is staying. So here, that same Sudha Sindhu convert into Bindu in Sri Yantra. So let's look into what is Sri Chakra. And before Sri Chakram, let's do a quick recap of the last two verses, which is Sloka 9 and 10, where we talked about Kundalini Shakti and chakras. In Samashti or in Brahmandam, in Prapancham, she is known as Tripura Sundari. Our Divine Mother is Tripura Sundari. And when it comes to Vyashti, which is our microcosm, which is our body, that same Shakti is known as Kundalini Shakti. And we saw in verse 9, Sloka 9, we saw Kundalini Shakti's travel from her abode, which is the Muladhara Chakra, and piercing through all the different chakras, and she reached all the way to Sahasrara Chakra and meeting with Shiva. And that was Sloka number 9. And then Sloka 10 actually was the descent of Kundalini Shakti from Sahasrara Chakra after being drenched with that Amritam, because the Shiva Shakti union is Amrita Pravaham. With that Amritam, she is now coming back all the way down to the Muladhara Chakra and staying there after realization. So that is where that 9 and 10 were talking about. Now we are going into an important part in Tantric sadhana known as Sri Chakram or Sri Yantram. It's also known as Meru. Sri Yantram is actually a representation of the divine. We talked about how we used different chakras superimposed in our Sushumna for the meditation. Similarly, this is also a methodology for meditation, but this is very special because it is a representation of divine, its entire creation, and its connection with me. So all these things are talking about in one geometrical representation. So yantram, in literal meaning, yantra means equipment. Tantra means a technique. Yantra means an equipment. So what is an equipment used? We have so many different equipments. In kitchen, we have so many equipments in machineries. So what is an equipment? An equipment is used for a purpose. So here, the purpose of this equipment or this yantram is for realization. Looking how the whole prapancham is created, if we condense that into a geometrical format, that is what the Sri Chakram is about. Sri Chakram is referenced in many Upanishad, Purana, and Tantric textbook, and some to name: Sri Chakra Upanishad, Aruna Upanishad, Brahmanda Puranam. Brahmanda Puranam is where Lita Sahasranamam is from. Vamakeshwara Tantram, Rudra Yamala Tantram. There are so many Yamalas in Tantra. Rudra Yamalam is one of them. And then Subhagodayam. Subhagodayam is written by Shankaracharya's guru's guru, Sri Gaudapada. So these are all the different literature that has the reference of Sri Chakram. Now, before we even go to Sri Chakram and the verses, I just wanted to simplify. We can actually talk a lot more in detail about Sri Chakram, and I will not be talking about that much. The reason, one, I don't know. The second is it has to be learned from a guru. Just like any mantra that has Bijakshara, there should be a diksha from a guru. Similarly, in order for worship of the Sri Yantra, we need a guru. So my goal here is to give you meaning of the sloka, just like any other sloka, and then one more layer down to know what does actually this mean from a esoteric standpoint. That's all my goal. We will not be crossing the line of actual Aradhana or actual Sri Chakra Puja. That we will not be going there, because one of the very complicated devotion is using the Sri Chakra. So let's simplify this. Before even go to Sri Chakram, let's talk about creation. We mentioned that Sri Chakram is actually representing the creation from its grand level, right? But before going to that grand level, let's talk about a simple creation that we all know. What is the creation that we all know? Creating a baby, right? Like everybody know how to create a baby. So how is the process happening? So there will be two cells, a sperm cell coming from a male and an egg cell coming from a female, both of them having 23 chromosomes. In normal human body, every single cell, if you take it, there will be 46 chromosomes. But except this, the sperm and egg cell will have 23 of them. So one coming from male, one coming from female, combine it, and that combination creates one cell of 46 chromosome, which is the normal human chromosome count. So that zygote, which is one cell, that starts dividing. Divide to multiply, right? I'm refreshing my biology lessons. So that zygote divide and becomes two cell. That two cell divide to become four cell. And then finally it becomes like an embryo. Embryo move to the uterus, and it again keeps on dividing, and then it becomes, in a few weeks, it becomes fetus, which in a somewhat weird form of a human being is what the fetus looks like after a few weeks. So if you see that, like two cells combine to create one cell, and then tuck, 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 that creation happens, creation of a human being. Similarly, if we can think of the whole prapancham, so it starts from a Bindu, a point where Shiva and Shakti are united, and then it actually expands, slowly, slowly, slowly expands, and see what we see in this Brahmanda. And similarly, that is a creation. And similarly, that also contract. And in a way, the contraction can happen in two ways, right? A physical contraction where when the layam happens, when the kalam ends, everything, the Ishvara takes everything into it, right? That is a physically that everything disappearing. I'm not talking about that one. I'm talking about the contraction when we realize that everything is one. Right now, I see Earth as one, Moon as different one, Sun as different one, me as a different one, you as a different one, the computer is different. All I'm seeing it as a different. But when I realize that the one thing that is common in everything, or the one thing that exists in everything, is the Ishvara or the Shuddha Chaitanya, then also the contraction happens, right? Because now everything is reduced down to that one thing, which is that Advaitic Shuddha Brahman. So this expansion and contraction is what is represented in Sri Chakra or Sri Yandra. So Sri Yantram, it's drawn in so many different ways, right? You have seen simple column, the Tamilians, they do the column on the floor, right? Just like the column, or we call it Padmam, we can use this rice flour and all that. And that is one way to create Sri Chakram. The other way is actually ascribed in metal. It could be two-dimensional, or it can be made in a three-dimensional, long, and also depending on the size of that, there are different names to that Sri Yandram. And when it is in a three-dimensional, it is also called Meru. They are also made from spadikam, crystal, 3D metal, thin, thick, all different forms are available for Sri Yandram. And Sri Yandram is a yandram for the whole cosmos, but then every single devata also has yandram. So for example, Ganapati has a yandram. Bala has a yantram. So every devata can have a yantram. Every devata, we talked about the difference between a devata and Ishvara. A devata denotes one or a few gunam, just the quality is that the devata represent. So a worship of Ganapati yantram will give you, say, Vigna Nashanam, or removal of obstacles, or Siddhi and Buddhi. Some certain gunas are received by, just like we are worshipping these different devatas. Similarly, you can do the worship to that yantram, that specific devatas yantram. But Sri Yantram is special because it is known as the Yantra Raja, because it's a king or the queen of the Yantra, because it's samagram. It is talking about the entire universe, entire thing. It is not talking about single gunam, but it has every gunam in it, right? All gunam in it. It is gunatitam. When every gunam is there, it becomes gunatitam. So that is the importance of Sri Yantra. With that background, we can go into the verse. Just like the last week, this is also tough words, but we will break it down and talk slowly. So Sloka 11 is all about the geometry of the divine. So let's see this. Chadurbhi Sri Kanthe Shiva Yuvatipi Panjapirapi Prabhinnabhi Shambhor Navabhirapi Mula Prakriti Chadushchatwarimshad Vasudala Kalasra Trivalaya Trirekhabhi Sartham Tava Sharanakona Parinata. Chadurbhi Sri Kanthai. Chadurbhi means four. Sri Kanthai represents Shiva. Sri Kanthan, Nilakanthan, or Shiva. Shiva Yuvatipi. Who is the Yuvati of Shiva? Shakti, you guessed it. Panjapirapi. Panjapirapi means five. So Shiva has four and Shakti five. What they are representing? Triangle. So four Shiva triangle and five Shakti triangle. That five Shakti triangle are Prabhinnabhi Shambhor. Shambho is again Shiva. Prabhinnabhi means different. Bhinnam means different. So Prabhinnam is especially different. It's distinct from. So these five Shakti triangles are distinct from four Shiva triangle. Next, Navabhirabi. Nava means nine. Navabhirabi. This five and four makes what? Nine. Mula Prakriti. So these nine triangle makes Mula Prakriti. Mula Prakriti is the fundamental manifestation. So that is the fundamental reason of this universe. Chadushchatwarimshad. Chadushchatwarimshad is a number. It's for number 44. Vasudala Kalasra Trivalaya. So three words. Vasudala. Vasudala means, dala means petal. Vasudala means eight petal. But Vasu doesn't mean eight. Vasu means Ashtavasu. Ashtavasu means there are eight Vasus. So these Ashtavasu are Apas, which is water, Bhumi, Dhara, Bhumi, then moon, then Anila, the wind, the Anala, the fire, the dawn, the early morning, the light, then Prabhasam, Akasham. So these are and Dhruva Nakshatram, sorry, Lone Star. So these are the eight Ashtavasuk. Because Ashtavasukal are eight, so that is where the Vasudala. So that is a usage in Sanskrit. If they show something that is that same number and say Vasudala now means eight Dalam. They are not talking about Vasu at all here. It simply says eight Dalam. Similarly, Kalasram, Kala means Chandrakala. How many Chandrakala? Chandrakala has 15. And then plus 1 is the full Nitya. So that is 16. 16, the next the petals are 16 in number. So there is a 8 petal and then there is a 16 petal. Trivalaya. After that, there is 3 circle. Then 3 rekha. So there are, rekha means line. So how many lines? 3 rekha. Sartham means together. All these things together becomes what? Tava Sharana Kona Parinata. It becomes Tava, yours. Sharana Kona is Bindu. Bindu is at the middle. So this is kind of giving how the structure of the Sri Yantram is. So it has 4 Shiva triangle, then 5 distinct triangles which are of Shakti. They combine to make how many? 9 Mula Prakriti. 9 triangles are the fundamental manifestation. Here it is talking about how the whole Prapancham is created. That is the content of Sri Yantra. Other than this 9 triangles, we have 2 lotuses, one having Vasudala, Ashtavasu because of that, 8 dalam, 8 petals. And then the next one has Kalasram, which is Chandrakala, which is a 16. So 16-petaled lotus. Then Trivalaya, 3 circles. And then Trirekha, 3 lines. So these, along with Tava Sharana Kona, your Bindu, becomes your abode with 44 corners and triangles. Now that math is not adding up, but let's see how the math finally adds up. Verse simply talk about what are the ingredients of the Sri Chakra. That's it, right? So 4 triangle plus 5 triangle, the 9 triangle, that is one section. And then there are 2 lotuses. One has 8 petal and the other has 16 petal. And then along with that, there are 3 circle, 3 lines, 3 rekha. And at the middle, there is Bindu, right? So Bindu is the place where Shiva and Shakti are together, right? And from there, like I said, like slowly expand. That is how the Prapancham is formed. And that formation is what the Sri Chakra or Sri Yantra represent. So we'll talk about where this 44 come up in detail. So this is the Sri Yantra. This is how it looks like. We'll break it apart to tell what exactly the Sloka is talking about, but you can see 2 things I will focus on right now. The whole geometry is actually starting from a Bindu. So a Bindu, if you put a lot of Bindu together, it becomes a line, Rekha. And then if you put 3 Rekhas together, it becomes a triangle. So and then if that same thing, if you stretch it, it becomes the petals. It's like a petal, right? So that's all the whole Sri Chakra. Sri Chakra has Bindu, triangle, the petals, that's it, lines. From Bindu, you can make rekhas or lines. And from rekha, you can make triangles, and triangle can be converted into a petal. So those are just the ingredient. Now focus on the Bindu. Bindu is the middle. And then there are lines outside. The last line, 3 rekhas, are known as Bhupuram. It's a square, actually, but with 4 openings, right? So the idea is that we are right now, our sadhakas are at the square, right? We have to enter into all the way inside, one by one layer, and reach the Bindu. So that path of a seeker towards Bindu is the path of realization, path of enlightenment. So once we reach the Bindu, actually means that we realize, what are we? We are that consciousness, that pure consciousness. From Bhupuram to Bindu is the path of realization. So that is from my standpoint. From a sadhaka standpoint, is that we are going from outside to inside. Now, from an architect, the supreme architect, the Devi standpoint, she is the creator. From the Bindu, she's condensing into that Prapancham. From the Bindu towards the Bhupuram is the path of creation. So one is a Srishti, the other is a Samharam. Again, don't think of Samharam that anything physically getting destroyed, but this is a Samharam where we realize that, oh, everything is one. So everything is reducing down to that Ishvara. Everything is reduced down to that pure consciousness, and that is the Samhara. So the path towards Bindu is the path of realization. From Bindu, the outside, from architect standpoint, from Ishvara standpoint, it is a path of creation towards Bhupuram. Bhupuram is the last 3 lines, and we are all there. We are all there in Sri Chakram. Every single thing has devatas, every single thing has mantra. And when I say every single thing, I'm talking about each of these petals, each of these lines. The outside itself, the Bhupuram itself has 28 different devatas. So there are so many different devatas in each of these. So the worship actually is about individually worshiping these different devatas and finally reaching that realization. So this is one sadhana sampradayam. So Shaktayam is all about like to reaching Shiva or reaching that Bindu, using this also as one of the medium, Sri Chakra. So now let's see the blueprint. Let's start simple and then let's go into the detail, right? So simply talk about Shiva triangle. So we said Shiva is the triangle that's the apex looking upward, and the one that are downward faced triangle is the Shakti, because Shakti is all about creation. Shiva is all about nirguna, right? Like it's about towards the Bindu. And then when they unite is when that prapancham is formed. So this is a simple triangle union that I have shown. It's the Shatkona. So you can see that two triangle now became how many triangles? Six triangles. So that is kind of the essence behind the whole thing. Remember, there was a number 43 we have to reach. So let's see how we, from the 9, we can make 43. The Sloka talked about there are 4 Shiva triangles, right? So these are the 4 Shiva triangles. I just numbered it. Actually, I have been thinking about making Sri Yantra for a long time, and I've been postponing. Finally, last night I created, and I thought it is easy, but it took me 3.5 hours to create that. It has to be so precise, unless it will not add up. So this is 4 Shiva triangle pointing upwards. And then the numbers are, this is 1, and then the second triangle, the third triangle, and fourth triangle inside. Okay, so that is a 4. And then there are 5 Shakti triangles pointing downwards. So this is 1, then 2, 3, 4, and inside that there is a 5. These are the basic ingredient. Now, when they combine, it becomes something like that. I still kept all the numbers, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so you understand. And then it will have so many different smaller triangle, that if you count all these little triangle, you will get 43 triangle. And to 43 triangle, Shankaracharya added that Bindu at the middle. That is the number 44. So that is where how 9 triangle becomes 44 triangle. The Bindu triangle, it's all the same. So the 44 of them, that is how the numbers are adding up. When those 44 triangles are added up, we can now see different layers. So now if we started coloring them, the outside, there is a layer outside, which has 14 different triangles. Then there is another layer of triangle, which is 10 triangle. Then there is a silver triangle inside. That's also 10 in number. Then inside that, there is a set of triangle, which is 8 in number. And then finally in the middle, there is 1 triangle. So that is the 5 different layer. It will finally reach Navaparanam. Out of the Navaparanam, the 5 layers are here. So that 14 triangle layer is called Sarva Saubhagyadayaka Chakram. And there are Devis within those, each of the triangles as well. Then 10 triangles are known as Sarvartha Sadhaka Chakram. Then 10 triangles inside are called Sarva Rakshakara Chakram. Then 8 triangles are called Sarva Rogahara Chakram. 1 triangle inside is called Sarva Siddhi Prada Chakram. And plus there is a Bindu, but that is where that Shiva Shakti union. So it starts from that Bindu. So our goal is to reach that Bindu in our awareness. And that for the plus Bindu becomes 44 triangle. That is what it's called Chadushchatwarimshat, which means 44. Now, into that Chadushchatwarimshat, 44 triangles, there are 2 layers of petals added. So these are the first layer of petal was called Vasudala. Vasudala means 8 petal, right? That layer of lotus is called, or chakram, is called Sarva Samshobhana Chakra. And then outside that, there are 16 petal chakra. It's called Sarvasha Paripuraka Chakra. Asha means desire. So all that desires get fulfilled. So if you could count, keep on counting. For earlier, we saw 5 layers. Now we saw 2 layers. So 5 plus 2, 7. And then we see the next is the circle, Trivalaya. Trivalaya means three circles. So that's also called Mekhala. So now that the circle is a layer, so that is one. And then we have the Bhupuram, which is the outermost square, and that is one layer. So 5 plus 2 plus 1 plus 1 becomes 9. So that is the Navayoni Chakram, is also a name for Sri Chakram, or Navavarana Chakram. There are 9 avaranas, 9 layers. So that is the Sri Chakram, and this is used to worship a Devi. Talk about in detail of all these things. We need a guru who can tell us like how to worship and all. These are called rahasyam, not because of that Tantra doesn't want everybody to practice. It is because that it needs to be practiced with caution. Because in some of these worship, it is going through our sukshma shariram, right? Like at the sukshma level. So those kind of worship needs to be done with care, because otherwise it is at the mental level, you don't want to cause any problem. So there has to be a guru, there has to be access to the guru too, because in some cases that they will just give you the mantras and they will disappear. No, we are not talking about those gurus, the ones that can actually lead you step by step by step, give us the guidance. That's kind of the guru. We need to learn these things in detail. So if anybody is interested, that is the path you can take. But for our purpose, that we want to learn the stotram, and we want to learn the stotram in a way, at least we understand the meaning at the higher level. As you do the stotram, the actual jnanam, it will actually start lighting up within you. So just keep chanting. It will take you to wherever your path is. For some, it could be going into one of the sampradayas. It could possibly be. You will reach there once that desire is there, once you are ready, right? Not everybody will be ready. Not everybody should be doing this path. That is the beauty of Hinduism. Hinduism doesn't have one path. There are so many different paths, right? We have so many different devatas. We have so many different sadhana sampradayam. So depending on what is your karma margam and your sadhana margam and your temperament, you will reach there. But for our purpose, our goal is just to do the stotram. And in order to do the stotram, we need to understand a meaning a little bit. So that is also my goal here. So with that, I want to just go back to the sloka one more time. And now you will understand, after seeing all the pictures, you will understand a little bit more. So it starts with Chaturphi Sri Kante. So 4 Shiva, Sri Kantan is Shivan, 4 Shiva triangle, and then Shiva Yuvadipi Panchabirabi. So 5 Shiva Yuvadi is Shakti. I know we all talk about Shakti's yantra, but this is actually and Shiva and Shakti's combined yantra, and Shiva and Shakti are always united to begin with. So and then Panchabirabi, 5 chakras are that of the Shiva Yuvadi or Shakti, which is Prabhinnapi Shampur, which is different from Shambhu's chakra. Shambhu's chakra are 4 upward face triangle, and then Shakti is downward. And that makes it Navapirapi. It makes a 9 triangle, which is the combined, those 9 becomes the Mula Prakriti, which is the fundamental manifestation. And that makes it Chatuschattvarimshat. We saw how that 5 plus 4 becomes the 44, including the Bindu. We saw that how that is. And then around that, there is Vasudala. There are 8 dalam, by 8-petaled lotus. Around that, there is Kalasram, which is Chandrakala, which is 16-petal one. Then there is Trivalaya. There are 3 rounds, 3 circle. Then Trirekhapi. There are 3 rekha, Bhupuram. Sardham means together. Together it makes Tava Sharana Kona Parinata. So together all this, it becomes your Sharana Kona is Bindu. So it convert into your abode. So remember, this is Sudha Sinthor Madhye. We talked about that in the 8th sloka, 8th verse. That is also the same thing. So here it is talking about that Sri Chakram as for the worship and the ingredients of the Sri Chakram. And in a way, that our body is also Sri Chakra. We saw how the different chakras and Kundalini Shakti is there, and our body also can be used as a worship for Sri Chakra. We can either use our body as a Sri Chakram, or we can use any of these ones, the Padmam or the metal or a spadikam or any of these, the Sri Chakram that is made in that also for worship. And that is one of the advanced worship in Tantric Sampradaya, the Shakteya Sri Vidya especially Sampradaya. And these are listed in many of the Tantric, not only Tantric textbook, but also in Upanishads and Puranas. These chakras are the Sri Yantra or Sri Chakra are referred. With that, let me go into the sadhana. In sadhana, again, continue to do the sadhana just to make sure that you're progressing. And hopefully you all had a good Shivaratri and Vajakshari was played hopefully the whole day.
Well, thank you, Gina. Thanks for explaining it so beautifully.
You're welcome.
Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Guru Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Vakratunda Mahakaya, Surya Koti Samaprabha, Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva, Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada. Sindhuraruna Vigraham Tranayanam, माणिक्यमौलिस्फुरद् तारानायकशेखरां स्मितमुखीं आपीनवक्षोरुहां पाणिभ्यामलिपूर्णरत्नचषकं रक्तोत्पलं बिभ्रतीं सौम्यां रत्नखडस्थरक्तचरणां ध्यायेत् परामम्बिकाम्. शिवशक्त्या युक्तो यदि भवति शक्तप्रभवितुं न चेदेवं देवो न खलु कुशलस्पन्दितुमपि अधस्त्वामाराध्यां हरिहरविरिञ्जादिभिरपि प्रणम्तुं स्तोतुं वा कथमकृतपुण्यप्रभवति तनीयां सम्पांसुं तव चरणपङ्केरुहभवं विरिञ्चिः सञ्चिन्वन् विरचयति लोकानविकलं वहत्येनं शौरिः कथमपि सहस्रेण शिरसां हरः संक्षुद्यैनं भजति बसितोद्धूलनविधिम् अविद्यानामन्तस्तिमिरमिहिरद्वीपनगरी जडानां चैतन्य स्तबकमकरन्दश्रुतिचरी दरिद्राणां चिन्तामणि गुणनिका जन्मजलधौ निमग्नानां दंष्ट्रा मुररिपुवराहस्य भवति त्वदन्यपाणिभ्याम् अभयवरदो दैवतगणः त्वमेका नैवासि प्रकटितवराभीत्यभिनया हयात्रादुं दातुं फलमपि च वाञ्छासमधिकं शरण्ये लोकानां तव हि चरणावेव निपुणौ हरिस्त्वामाराध्य प्रणतजनसौभाग्यजननीं पुरा नारी भूत्वा पुररिपुमभिक्षोभमनयत् स्मरोऽपि त्वां नत्वा रतिनयनलेहेन वपुषा मुनीनामप्यन्तः प्रभवति हि मोहाय महतां धनुः पौष्पं मौर्वी मधुकरमयी पञ्चविशिखाः वसन्तः सामन्तो मलयमरुदायोधनरथः तथाप्येकः सर्वं हिमगिरिसुते कामपि कृपाम् अपाङ्गात् ते लब्ध्वा जगदिदमनङ्गो विजयते क्वणत्काञ्चीदामा करिकलभकुम्भस्तननता परिक्षीणा मध्ये परिणतशरच्चन्द्रवदना धनुर्बाणान् पाशं सृणिमपि ददाना करतलैः पुरस्तादास्तां नः पुरमधिदुराहु पुरुषिका सुधा सिन्धोर्मध्ये सुरविडपि वाटी परिवृते मणिद्वीपे नीपो पवनवति चिन्तामणिगृहे शिवाकारे मञ्चे परमशिवपर्यङ्कनिलयां भजन्ति त्वां धन्या कतिचन चिदानन्दलहरीं महीं मूलाधारे कमपि मणिपुरे हुतवहं स्थितं स्वाधिष्ठाने हृदि मरुतमाकाशमुपरि मनोऽपि भ्रूमध्ये सकलमपि भित्त्वा कुलपथं सहस्रारे पद्मे सहरहसि पत्या विहरसे सुधाधारासारैश्चरणयुगलां तर्विगलितैः प्रपञ्चं सिञ्चन्ति पुनरपि रसाम्नाय महसः अवाप्य स्वां भूमिं भुजगनिभमध्युष्टवलयं स्वमात्मानं कृत्वा स्वपिशिकुलकुण्ठे कुहरिणे चतुर्भिः श्रीकण्ठै शिवयुवतिभिः पञ्चभिरपि प्रभिन्नाभिः शम्भोर्नवभिरभिमूलप्रकृतिभिः चतुश्चत्वारिंशद् वसुदलकलाश्रत्रिवलय त्रिरेखाभिः सार्धं तव शरणकोणाः परिणताः.
Let's all sit tall, head neck trunk in a straight line. Let's chant Om Namah Shivaya. Inhale. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Om Namah Shivaya. Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Gurur Devo Maheshwara, Gurur Sakshat Parabrahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Om Shri Matre Namah. Sarvam Shri Jagadambika Padaravindar Pranamastu.